I have to say one thing. You guys living abroad don't really have an idea about what is going on in Israel, about our daily lives. And I'm talking to, let's say, American Jews who've never been to Israel, who only know Israel from the media, from YouTube, social media, whatever. You have no clue what's going on here. The question I've been getting many times, and I also see this in many YouTube comments, not on my videos, but on other videos, is like the remark of American Jews, or Jews from English-speaking countries at least, saying that why or if anti-Zionist Chassidic group members speak Hebrew, like using Hebrew in their daily lives, or if they only speak Yiddish. As you know, in America, like Satmar, they use Yiddish and English. English, like if they go out and they want to go to, I don't know, to the post office or to authorities or whatever, if they go out of their communities and they have to talk to people, they have to communicate, so they do this in English. Not everybody in America knows Yiddish. So it's the same here in Israel. Of course, Satmar in America, for instance, says that they only use Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue, which is Hebrew, when they study Torah. When they study Torah, halachot, whatever. Holy books, Sifrei Kodesh. Otherwise, they do not use Hebrew. They don't like have a daily conversation in Hebrew. And I've met members of Satmar from New York here in Israel, and it was actually quite a funny situation. You recognize many of them very fast as soon as they come to Israel. So I was walking in Mea Shearim, and I was looking for a certain tish. I knew where the synagogue was, but I didn't really know where the door to the Ezrat Nashim is, to the women's entrance. So there was a woman around, and who looked like from the area. Actually, not really, because she was dressed like rather posh, like expensive. You don't have this too many times in Mea Shearim. And so I asked her in Hebrew, can you tell me where the Ezrat Nashim is, the door? And she understood what I said, but she answered me in English. So she was actually from America, as you can guess. So she answered me in English. She did not respond in Hebrew. She responded in English, not even knowing if I know English or not. But this is how Satmar, like in America, reacts. Because Lashon HaKodesh, Hebrew, is like Kodesh. It's not used in your daily lives, and you don't discuss daily matters in Hebrew. But when it comes to Israel, of course, Satmar, members of Satmar, Toldot Aharon, Toldot Avraham Yitzchak, Dushinsky, I don't know, you name it, they all know Hebrew. And not only in terms of like Torah study or Sifrei Kodesh. They just know our daily Hebrew, how you communicate. Of course, and within their communities, they speak Yiddish. But as soon as they go out, you have to go to the post office, you have to go to the municipality, you have to deal with the tax authorities, you have to go to the hospital, to the doctors, to your health care, to I don't know what. Even if you take a bus, sometimes you have to take to the bus driver or whatever, So then, of course, they have to communicate in Hebrew, because in Israel, you speak Hebrew. you can't just come in Yiddish or English. I mean, you could try in English, but you know, to tell you the truth, most, for instance, Toldot Aharon members here in Jerusalem, they don't speak English. They don't learn English. So they know Yiddish, of course, and Hebrew. And when you listen to them talking in Hebrew, I mean, they grow up speaking Yiddish. And I was told that the children, only at a certain age, I don't know if this concerns everybody, but this is what I heard from a few people, not only from Toldot Aharon, also from Dushinsky and from other groups. So when the children get to a certain age, only then they learn Hebrew. Because they don't want them, like little children, to walk around in other neighborhoods and learn or pick up, you know, not such holy things. So they prevent their children from communicating with normal, let's say, Israeli kids. Because normal Israeli kids, they don't know Yiddish, they grow up with Hebrew. And in the Chassidic communities, like in Mea Shearim, they grow up and they speak Yiddish. And only at the age of, let's say, 13, 14, 15, the young teenagers learn Hebrew. But when they are older, let's, I don't know, 18, 20, you know, when they are older and you talk to them, they speak Hebrew like their mother tongue. You don't hear a difference. It's like they don't have a foreign accent in their Hebrew. They speak Hebrew as every Israeli. There is no accent. They are like, it's their mother tongue. Although they grew up with Yiddish. So you don't hear a difference. Sometimes they put in like Gur likes to do it, as you know, oh, so they put in into the Hebrew words some, you know, some Yiddish pronunciation or something, so you can hear something already, but otherwise, like if you talk to the women in Toldot Aharon, you do not hear the difference if they're Israeli born, between born Israelis and them. They speak Hebrew like everybody else in this country. And of course, when you live in Israel, even though you consider Hebrew as Lashon HaKodesh, you have to communicate in Hebrew because this is the language of this country. So when you go out, when you leave your community, when you leave your Yiddish-speaking neighborhood, so to speak, and you go out, of course everything is in Hebrew. Also here in Jerusalem, as soon as you leave Mea Shearim, Geula, all kinds of neighborhoods, doesn't matter what, and you go downtown or you go somewhere, of course you have to communicate in Hebrew. So I was like a couple of weeks ago, I went to Chassidic Medical Center where I'm a patient. So I was on the tram and a woman from Toldot Aharon, she was also on the tram. And she asked me where to get off. She also wanted to go to Chassidic and she asked me where the stop is. And she talked to me in Hebrew. She didn't try Yiddish first or anything. Right away she talked to me in Hebrew and I answered her in Hebrew. And this is what you have to consider. If you've never been to Israel, you know, you should consider these matters because in Israel we speak Hebrew and you can have your Yiddish, you can have Yiddish, you know, in your communities, in your synagogue, in your neighborhood, in your family. But as soon as you go outside, you know, people don't know Yiddish here. It's not, it's not like, you know, everybody knows Yiddish. It's not the case. Actually, in Israel, you also have to consider that we have huge Sephardi communities. And Sephardi Jews don't necessarily, you know, speak Yiddish. So when someone from Toldot Aharon or Satmar here in Israel, or doesn't matter what. Even the Neturei Karta, we have 2 Neturei Karta groups in Mea Shearim. Even if they go out into, let's call it normal society, an ordinary society, outside their communities, if they have to go to court, if they have to deal with the police, if they have to, as I said, tax authorities, municipality, all kinds of ministries, doesn't matter where, they have to talk in Hebrew. And this is what they do. They don't start throwing stones and say, here, speak Yiddish to me, I only speak Yiddish, and this is Lashon HaKodesh, and blah, blah, blah. They don't do this. So they speak Hebrew, because they know Hebrew, as I said, as everybody else. And so they communicate in Hebrew, as every other Israeli. And this is what you do in Israel. You communicate in Hebrew. So this is all I have to say. And maybe you should come to Israel and face reality here in order to get an idea what's going on here. Because it doesn't help you if you live in America or somewhere in the Galut and you only watch YouTube or, I don't know, social media, everything, and you actually have no idea what's going on in Israel. So you have to face reality, the daily life here, and how people react and what people do. This is how society works. And our society works in Hebrew. Unless you're Palestinian, so you speak Arabic. But even the Palestinians speak Hebrew. At least most of them. More or less. Some or many Palestinians actually speak better Hebrew than you do when you make Aliyah. So this is all I have to say. And if you go to Toldot Aharon, I've been to Satmar in Bnei Brak and to Satmar here in Mea Shearim. If you go there, they see, like for a tish, I mean Satmar doesn't really have a tish. I've been to a Satmar tish in Bnei Brak because Rebbe Aharon came from America for a visit a couple of years ago, so I went. And I asked some women, can I come in, or is it only for members? And I talked to them, I approached them in Hebrew. I know some words in Yiddish and some phrases, and I do understand a lot, but I can't really say too much. But I approached them in Hebrew. And believe it or not, they didn't yell at me, they didn't throw stones, or they didn't do anything to me. They were very nice, and they said, of course, here's the door, please come in. And they answered, as opposed to their American counterparts, they answered in Hebrew. They did not speak English, and I don't think that they knew English, but never mind. So this is all I have to say, and please consider this and know what's going on, like how reality works in Israel. It's not as you may think while living in the United States. Thank you very much for listening.